What if I told you that you could buy your first investment property in Chicago for as little as 3.5% to 5% down and live in it while your tenants pay for most, if not all, of your mortgage? That's exactly how I started, and today I'm going to show you the easiest way to buy your first investment property in Chicago. If you're new here, I'm Paul DeLuca, a Chicago real estate agent and investor. I bought 4 investment properties here in Chicago by age 30, and I help people buy and sell investment properties here in the Chicago area as well. The easiest way to buy your first investment property in Chicago is using the house hacking strategy. If you're not familiar with house hacking, the strategy is simply buy a 2 to 4 unit building, live in one unit, and rent out the other units. This is a very powerful strategy because your tenants pay you rent, and that helps you cover your mortgage. You also build equity, and it overall lowers your living expenses. The advantage of doing this in Chicago is that there are a ton of 2 to 4 unit buildings in Chicago. 2 to 4 unit buildings are Chicago's most common type of rental housing, and about 1/3 of Chicago's housing supply are 2 to 4 unit buildings. And fun fact, people have actually been using the house hacking strategy since the 1890s. So let's talk about different financing options for purchasing your house hack. One of the most attractive things about the house hacking strategy is because you have access to very low down payment financing options. So that makes this strategy super popular because the barrier to entry is a lot lower than, say, if you were to buy a traditional rental property, you're putting 20 or 25% down. So a couple different options are the 5% down conventional loan through Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. So that is a very popular one and usually my go-to recommendation. There's also the FHA loan, which allows you to put 3.5% down to purchase the property. But one drawback of the FHA loan is the FHA self-sufficiency test, which says 75% of your rental income from all the units needs to be greater than your monthly principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, which is all combined into your mortgage payment. And that unfortunately rules out a lot of properties. A lot of properties do not pass that test. So for that reason, I usually recommend the 5% down conventional loan. So using some sample numbers, for example, if you were to purchase a $300,000 2-flat using an FHA loan and putting 3.5% down, your down payment would be $10,500, but you also want to allocate about 2.5% of the purchase price to closing costs, which would be an additional $7,500. Compare that to 25% down for a traditional rental property that you wouldn't be occupying. 25% down on a $300,000 property is $75,000, and then you have to add the closing costs as well. You can see that for most people, that's just not feasible. That's not doable. It's too high a barrier to entry. So most people can't afford this for their first property. Chicago is actually perfect for the house hacking strategy. And there's a few different reasons for that. So one, there's an abundance of 2 to 4 unit buildings, which I mentioned earlier. Number 2, there's strong rental demand from college graduates, young working professionals, and families. Number 3, there's relative affordability compared to coastal cities. Number 4, there are some local nuances regarding property taxes and local laws. So these things actually do deter other institutional investors from investing here in Chicago. And that's actually good for you as a local investor because you can navigate those challenges more easily than someone who lives out of state. So here are some example numbers for a house hack I did. It was a $300,000 purchase price for a 3-unit property in Chicago, and my monthly mortgage payment was $2,556, and I was collecting $2,350. So you could see I was living almost for free while I was building equity. And now, since I've moved out, that property is cash flowing several $100s a month in cash flow. So let's talk about some of the cons of house hacking. So as a house hacker, you are a landlord as well. And as a landlord, you need to expect repairs and also deal with tenant issues as they come up. You also live next to your tenants. The last thing you want is to live next to a bad tenant. And by bad tenant, I basically mean someone who is loud, annoying, obnoxious, or overall just difficult to deal with. And most importantly, they don't pay their rent or comply with the lease terms. House hacking also does require require that you live in the property for at least a year due to the terms of owner-occupant financing. Property taxes in Chicago can eat into your cash flow due to the political and financial situation with the city. That can really attract some negative headlines and articles due to unfunded pension liabilities. That does tend to push property taxes up to pay for those obligations. House hacking is hands down the easiest way to buy your first investment property in Chicago. I've used this strategy myself multiple times, and it's how I built my portfolio. If you're thinking about buying your first investment property in Chicago, I'd love to help you find the right 2 to 4 unit building for you. I have a lot of experience helping house hackers, going through it myself, and also helping clients. So if you do have any questions about doing that, feel free to reach out. And if you found this video helpful, hit subscribe for more content regarding Chicago real estate investing.